Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Autism Stories. I'm your host, Doug Bletcher, the founder of Autism Personal Coach. Autistic people are the true experts of the autistic experience, and Autism Stories is where we interview autistic people to learn from their diverse stories, experiences, and get their insights. If you would like to be notified about each week's episode of Autism Stories, we suggest you subscribe on your favorite podcast listening platform. On today's episode, PJ Letourneau joins us to discuss pervasive demand for autonomy, the benefits of cannabis, and processing our emotions as autistic people. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation. PJ, thanks so much for joining me here on Autism Stories.
Doug, it's great to be here. It's nice to meet you.
At the same. And I'd love to start off our conversation by learning about your story. Where would you say your story in the autistic community begins?
Well, I now know that it begins at the very beginning of my life. I learned about my autism maybe about 5 years ago now. And that's when I started getting connected with the autism community and having conversations like this, which are so great for me.
You have a blog called Unprogrammable, which you state you're a writer of feelings, which I love. In what ways is learning about your autism helped you to better understand your feelings?
It's helped me to better understand my relationship with my feelings in general, because I've realized that maybe what autism partly means to me is that my inner state, the state, internally for me, my feelings and sensations can be hard for me to read, can be hard for me to access and understand that internal state. I do a lot of introspection and a lot of work to better understand what I'm feeling inside and, behave accordingly.
I'm curious because I do that internal work every day. Are there specific things that really help you on a daily basis?
Oh, yeah. I've noticed that having a schedule, not kind of like it's not a schedule, but there's like a set of things that I like to do that help me to ground in my body and feel my feelings. One is journaling, has been amazing for me. And I've done that for a long time, but recently I've started journaling a lot more regularly every morning. And it's been a huge help for me. I have a men's group that I attend and help to run as well. And we process a lot of emotions together that way as well. My daily routine also involves meditation. I do yoga almost every day. And those are all, a big part of my self-care and my grounding into my own body.
I loved how you're just talking about grounding because today I felt, earlier today, I felt very ungrounded. So I did some yoga and that seemed to help. And then I was going good for a while. And then I realized oh, I'm still not very grounded. So I walked outside barefoot in nature and that seemed to help. So that grounding definitely can connect with that.
That helps me so much as well. I love taking off my shoes, putting my feet on the bare earth, and yeah, feeling the sun shining on me. Those are really nutritious for me.
Now, you mentioned you attend and you co-lead a weekly men's group where you hold space for men to explore and understand their emotions and feelings. What have you seen in terms of building a space where men can feel either comfortable or safe enough to kind of investigate these emotions?
For men, I've noticed it's a real process. First of allowing other people to see us, and especially other men, being in a container, a safe container where men can be witnessed in their true emotions, their true momentary experience, whatever it happens to be, without judgment. But having that held and seen by the group is very powerful. And there's a resonance there because the more I feel seen and authentically accepted by this community of men, the more I feel drawn to investing in them, helping them, and wanting to process with them. So we all benefit from that with each other, and it ends up being a greater than a sum of its parts, I think, kind of situation where we collectively as a group are able to process things that us alone, alone as individuals, we wouldn't be able to do.
I love that because I've really been thinking lately about being socialized as a male and and the impact between that and my autism in terms of not being able to like investigate my feelings truly until I've become an adult.
Yeah, I've experienced that as well. I've noticed that with the men's work, I'm getting access to more of the emotional content in my life and in my body. The nuance now that I'm starting to understand within myself, when there's anger, for example. Anger is a really difficult emotion to process with other people in society, right?
Yeah.
And as a man, it's especially challenging, I think, because I have a lot of anger, inside of me from years and years of not processing things and not really understanding, for example, why I felt I was being discriminated against, or there's a lot of things that I've not fully understood. And now, as I'm more fully understanding them, there's a lot of feelings there to process that are kind of like a backlog of emotions that I want to, feel clearer on.
Changing topics kind of, it might seem a pretty drastic change, but I do think there is a connection here. I read where you wrote that cannabis has been life changing for you, and you're learning to guide other autistic people in this process as you've become a certified medical cannabis coach. In what ways has cannabis for you positively impacted your life?
Cannabis was a very confusing aspect of my life for a really long time because in high school I was trying it, but my family was very against it. And there were actually aspects of it that seemed to be helping me a lot, but it wasn't clear to me how to use it. And it was only in my 40s that I looked into it again and realized that it was extremely effective medicine for me. I would describe it as coming back into my body. My awareness, cannabis seems to have the effect of bringing my awareness more fully into my experience right now in my body. And when I get more access to that, it's almost like I have more controls available to me, in life, in my personal sort of effectiveness in the world. And that's my guidance system, right? If I'm angry but I can't tell, then my guidance system is kind of it's leading me, in two different directions maybe at the same time. But when I have an understanding of what's going on and I say, "Oh, I'm feeling angry right now," I can make space for that within myself, understand that, move forward with that integrated, that understanding integrated. That's now like a more, intentional direction to be taking. But it feels like it's helped me to understand and get in touch with that internal guidance system.
I think that's super helpful because there's something that I pay attention to. It's like a visual that was created. It's called an emotional guidance system. And a lot of times I'm trying to like figure out what emotion am I feeling because something's not right. So that definitely makes a lot of sense to me.
And I found that cannabis is a very bespoke medicine in the sense that there's a number of different of these cannabinoids that can be taken in combination with each other, and they have a synchrony together that is very effective. And I think I've heard a lot of other autistic people say this as well. So I think it's worth looking into as an autistic person, CBD, CBG, there's all these different cannabinoids now that are becoming available. And together they have this magical effect that I just want other people to know about, like understand that there's a possibility here.
Autonomy is such an essential thing in my life, a critical value. I mention that because you're a board member of PDA North America. So when autistic people or their family members reach out to you about PDA, what do you share in regards to your experience with a pervasive drive for autonomy?
Well, I could deeply relate to the experience that these families are having from several different points of view because now understand that I am a PDA adult and that I was also a PDA kid. And I saw how my mom was a single mom and she was struggling to just kind of keep us afloat. And she had a lot on her plate with me, and all the other things she was trying to do in her life. And I now see that more clearly, having been in the point, from the point of view of the child. I can also see it from the point of view of the parent because I'm now a parent of an 8-year-old, and and he's a lot like me, right? So I can really empathize a lot more now with my mom's experience, for example. And so when families reach out to me, maybe it's oftentimes the mom, reaching out to me, and they have questions about how to understand their kids or how to best support their kids. I can see from the parents' point of view the concern and love that's bringing them to ask that question. And I can also see from the kids' point of view where they might not even, be like from the kids' point of view, they might be in crisis. The child might be in crisis, not understanding, as we said, like what's this internal state that I'm feeling that I don't really know how to manage. That collectively, those things together, there's a dynamic there within the family unit that I think families are looking for, more help in that dynamic and being, at peace, at equilibrium as a family unit.
Now, I saw where you wrote that you see cannabinoid supplementation as an important part of the PDA toolkit you've developed. Why is cannabis such an important part of this toolkit?
So cannabis is interacting with a system in our body called the endocannabinoid system. And if you're an autistic person, for example, it's really worth looking up this system and understanding more about it. But the cannabis medicine is really it's kind of mimicking the natural cannabinoids. They're called endocannabinoids. That are produced in our body, and that system is responsible for keeping our whole body in equilibrium. And sometimes that system doesn't have enough power to match the stresses that we're receiving and it from in life. And so supplementing that system helps to generally like bring the level of equilibrium back up. That's a very, very crucial aspect of my own personal health that I've realized, like I sometimes require this supplementation in order for me to feel at equilibrium and at ease and relaxed. For example, if you've just learned you're autistic, for example, and you're wondering what kind of supplementation, what does my body potentially need? It's possible that cannabinoids could be a really helpful part of your supplementation because it's reinforcing your body's ability to generally regulate.
I can speak from personal experience that gummies have been helpful to me in sleeping.
I
Um,
say,
my guess has been like I'm too overstimulated when I go to bed, and as a result, the
Mhm.
gummies kind of level me off. I don't have gummies every night, but for example, if I have a terrible night's sleep the night before, where I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and can't go back to sleep, the next night I make sure to have a gummy to kind of help to maybe regulate me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. And I experienced the same thing. I call it landing the plane, actually, at the end of the day. Because, yeah, it's like the more turbulence I've had, throughout the day, the more wonky the plane is as it's trying to land, right? And I need that additional control. I need additional help, in my internal equilibrium system to, level out and land smoothly. And for me, that's been a lifelong struggle, basically, is learning how to do that. And this has been really helpful for that for me too.
And lastly, PJ, how can our listeners learn about you beyond this interview?
Yeah, when you mentioned my newsletter, Unprogrammable, so you can definitely look me up there. And if you want, you can subscribe. You can reply to one of those newsletter posts and send me a note, introduce yourself. You can also find me on Instagram at PJ Starling.
Well, earlier in our conversation, PJ used the word magical, and it was truly a magical experience for me having the opportunity to talk with you. So thanks so much for joining me here on Autism Stories.
Thank you, Doug. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much to PJ for the conversation. To learn more about PJ, please check out the link in the podcast description for this episode. We always love hearing from you and would especially love to hear from you relating to this episode regarding in what ways do you like to process your emotions and internal experience. Did you know Autism Personal Coach provides neurodiversity affirming support by autistics for autistics? We empower autistic adults and teens to be the best version of their authentic selves through customized life coaching and community groups. We also support parents and partners of autistic people by providing insights and guidance to bridge communication gaps and nurture mutual understanding. So please visit autismpersonalcoach.com to begin your experience of judgment-free coaching rooted in empathy, expertise, and respect for autistic identity. Until next time, I'm Doug Bletcher of Autism Personal Coach. Talk to you then.